Pop quiz. What do soybeans, whiskey, and orange juice have in common? They're all part of China's $50 billion list of U.S. goods that could possibly be slapped with new tariff hikes. Now, just the threat of the fee making for another bumpy day on the markets amid a deepening trade rift between China and the U.S. The Dow Jones plunging about 500 points this morning, followed by roller coaster ups and downs, closing the day up more than 200 points after China revealed plans to place 25% tariffs on more than 100 U.S. goods, mostly targeting agriculture. No date given, though, on when the taxes could roll out. China's move is a retaliatory one, coming just hours after Washington outlined about 1,300 Chinese products the U.S. could hit with 25% trade tariffs, covering industries like aerospace and communications technology that add up to about $50 billion annually. The fees are partly aimed at forcing changes in Beijing's intellectual property practices. But a policy expert explains it could be the consumer that winds up paying in the end.
Who gets hurt? Low-income American consumers. More broadly, you have large American multinational corporations that have complex supply chains, some of which, of course, involve Chinese components. The final product may be made in the United States, but if some critical components are made in China, there's a surcharge in terms of the tariffs. Well, that will be reflected eventually in higher prices.
So do these escalating tariffs signal a trade war between China and the U.S.? Donald Trump saying that's not exactly the case, tweeting, "We are not in a trade war with China. That war was lost many years ago by the foolish or incompetent people who represented the U.S. Now we have a trade deficit of $500 billion a year with intellectual property theft of another $300 billion. We cannot let this continue."
Is it possible?
Trump's economic advisor also downplaying the idea of a trade war.
This is not about trade wars. This is about holding to the laws and the customs of free trade and holding violators to account.
On top of what we've seen today, Beijing raised tariffs on other U.S. goods like pork and apples in a separate move earlier this week in response to Trump's push for increased duties on steel and aluminum imports.